Okay, in this video, what we're going to show you now, we're going to go over how to take the carburetor apart and clean the carburetor. A lot of times, one of the problems I see, bike that sits for a while, if it's got gas in the carburetor, one of the problems you see is mainly the pilot jet gets stopped up. So it's something that, you know, at that point, the only way to fix it is to take the carburetor apart, go through everything, clean it out. It's something that really should be done occasionally anyway, just to go over the condition of the carburetor, make sure everything's okay. So we've already, on the last video that we did, we went over how to remove the carburetor off the bike and then get it back on. So now what we're going to do in this video is show you how to get the carburetor apart, what parts you need to clean, and a few things that you need to look out for. So it's really a simple job. You know, Phillips head screwdriver, a couple of small wrenches, small flathead screwdriver, and the carburetor comes apart real easy. So what we'll go over now is you know, how to get it apart, kind of what each part does, and you know, just go over how to clean the thing, make sure it goes back on the bike, everything runs good. So we'll cover that right now, and hopefully we can help you out. Okay, once you've got the carburetor off, the first step is going to be to remove the bowl. There's 4 screws on you know, all the key and 4-stroke carburetors. There's basically 4 screws that hold the bowl on. What we do is we're going to take those out. There's 1 screw that holds your idle speed adjustment. You want to keep that in mind. Remember where that goes. On the other side of the bowl, underneath the other 2 screws, there's just a still aluminum piece. Basically, it holds your carburetor vent lines. Just kind of remember where those go. Yeah, each bike's going to be a little bit different on that, depending on the manufacturer where they want to put those. But small little, just a small little separator to hold the hoses, the vent lines in place. We got the 4 screws out. From there, you can take the bowl out. You've got the bowl off the carburetor. What you've got now, you've got a little plastic baffle that's held in by the main jet. The main jet is a 6 millimeter. We can take the main jet out. Actually, we try to take the main jet out, but the whole nozzle and everything's coming out. Not a big deal. That needs to come out anyway to be cleaned. So that comes out. What we'll do now is we'll separate the main jet and the nozzle. Take those 2 apart. Right here's your main jet. Main jet controls pretty much 3/4 to wide open throttle. That controls the amount of fuel going through the carburetor. The other thing, once we get the main jet and the nozzle out of the way, the bowl baffle comes out. From there, we have the pilot jet, which is back here on the back side. It's on the engine side of the carburetor. Small flat blade screwdriver, and we're going to thread that out. The pilot jet is generally that's the jet that gives the most trouble. It's got a real small passage, so it's really easy to clog the pilot jet. There's your pilot jet. We're going to go through and clean that out. The next jet, this is actually the start jet. This is something that most people, there's really usually no need to change this, but we definitely want to take it out and clean it. The start jet controls the amount of fuel that goes through the choke system. So you know, it's real important for that to be clean. At this point, there's a pin that holds the float in. Take the pin out and then just lift the float up. The float and the needle will come off with it. So that's what regulates the amount of fuel that's in the fuel bowl. From there, we want to take the fuel screw out. What I do before I take it out is turn it in and count the number of turns. There's 1/2, 1, 1/2, about 1 3/4. So now we've counted that, we're going to take the fuel screw out. One thing to be really careful with on the fuel screw, there's a spring. Oh, and this doesn't happen very often. It all came out together. Usually you have to dig these pieces out. There's the spring on the fuel screw, then there's a small washer, and then a small O-ring. Be 100% positive you've got those out. Without those parts, you will have a problem. So that's got the bottom half of the carburetor. We're going to turn it over and pull the choke knob out next. Okay, on your choke knob, basically a 14mm wrench. The nut on this thing is plastic, so be really careful with it. Just break it loose, should thread right out with your fingers. So we're going to pull that out. Next is going to be the slide. We're going to pull the slide out of the carburetor. It takes an Allen wrench for that. Okay, we've got the 2 Allen screws out of the cover for the slide. You'll take that off. What you'll find is the slide works on an arm. To get the slide out, you've got to take the Phillips head screw that holds the arm in place. Be very careful. You can strip the screw out, so be very careful when you go to pull this out. This has to come out to get the slide out, and really to clean the carburetor. It really should come out. So we're going to pull that out, and got that screw out. Now at this point it gets a little bit tricky. What you'll want to do is roll the slide up. As the slide comes out of the carburetor, you've got rollers on each side. What you want to do is watch that fairly close. Slide the carburetor, or take the slide out, take it out, being careful not to lose those rollers. These things, they do come off, as you can see. One of them's got a bearing on them, a couple of them's got bearings on them, some of them don't. So just kind of pay attention to how they go. Another thing that's really important is the vacuum plate on the carburetor. It comes off. There is a small rubber seal on the back side. Do not clean this with carburetor. It can damage that seal and will cause problems. If you notice, the slide goes on one way. The hole should go at the bottom of the slide on the end with the needle. One of the common mistakes that I see, people have the slide off. They'll put it on upside down, and it sort of fits, but it's not right. So make sure you notice how that goes on, and you definitely want to get that back on in the right direction, or it's going to cause you some problems. So we've got that done. Got that apart. I'm going to lay that to the side. Make sure you keep your work area real clean, because you don't want any dirt down in here. Next up, there's a leak. The leak jet is down here in the bowl of the carburetor. I generally just, I've got the thing apart. I'll go ahead and pull it out. It takes a real small flat blade screwdriver, and you got to be really careful with this one. It can be kind of tricky to get out. We'll pull that out, and the leak jet is another thing. You want to blow that out. This controls the amount of fuel that is pumped into the carburetor, into the engine by the accelerator pump. So we've got that apart. Next thing is going to be, this is on the bottom side of the fuel bowl, is the carburetor diaphragm. We're going to take, there's 3 screws on that. We're going to take that apart, and I'll show you how all that comes apart and goes back together.